What's going on, guys? This is Saturday Afternoon Wrestling, and it is a great day to talk about wrestling because this Sunday is NXT's Halloween Havoc, and it feels like things are finally picking up to close out the end of the year for AEW and WWE on extremely high notes. I missed recording last week, and I apologize for that if anyone was wondering where I was, where the episodes were. Really apologize for that. It was a bit of a slower week. I don't think it was the worst week necessarily to miss. Because it feels like things have kind of been in a holding pattern for both of these companies, especially since AEW Wrestle Dream, as we've had this slow, cryptic rollout of Jon Moxley's crew. I think they're called the Death Riders now, not the BCC. It's kind of just been like a slowly building story where we're getting bits and pieces at a time. And WWE, on their side of things, it's all kind of building towards Crown Jewel, which is next week. And they have certainly been stacking that card. It's not to say that they haven't been doing anything. It's just felt like things are going slower, or like I just am like so busy that it feels like things are going slower or something. I don't know. But this week we had a really solid set of shows, I think, from across both of the companies, and I'm excited for Halloween Havoc. I'm excited for Crown Jewel, as excited as I can be, I should say. Those aren't usually shows that I go like super out of my way to watch live. Like if it airs at 8 in the morning, I'll watch it at 10. I'll catch up. I'll see what is left and then watch the rest after. It's not like appointment must see viewing, and I kind of feel like that's something that they're working to try to like prevent. Like I think that they're trying to build it into that must see type of thing, but I don't know. So I'm encouraged by the card, but everything around it and all that, like I don't know. I tend to be able to take it or leave it in the moment. It does feel like a bit like a house show, but that's a week away. We'll get to that next week. That's next week's problem. This week we had some really good things happen across all of the shows. Like I said, so before I hit Halloween Havoc and get into the preview and predictions for that, I just want to run through a few things that happened this week. And on Raw, speaking of Crown Jewel, we had another match made official for Crown Jewel. It will be Seth Rollins taking on Bronson Reed, and that's going to be great. It's such a good feud for Bronson Reed to continue this breakout. Like it was such a smart decision to put Seth Rollins with him because it keeps Seth Rollins like whatever he does is going to be a high profile program, and keeping him away from the title, helping him build up this star, making Bronson Reed look like $1,000,000. Like I really feel like Seth is going to make him look incredible in this match. Like they're going to have a great match together. I think the two of them are just going to have that type of chemistry that just for whatever reason works. So I'm really excited for that. But the big news, I believe, probably the only big thing coming out of this episode of Raw was that Jey Uso is no longer the Intercontinental Champion. He had a 1-month reign. The moment of him winning was incredible and will remain incredible forever. But it's a bit of a bummer to see it end, but here we go. We are on the path towards the SummerSlam Bloodline. We are on the path towards the Bloodline Survivor Series match, likely at the end of this month. I can't remember when Survivor Series is. I think it's the end of this month. And, getting the belt off Jey was the first step. So Jey went to Smackdown this last week because Jimmy Uso has been popping up on Raw, trying to get him to join their fight against the Bloodline 2.0. And Jey has been like, no, don't care, sorry, sucks, no. And then last week, he showed up on SmackDown to try to talk to Solo Sikoa and the new Bloodline, and he was like, hey, I don't understand why you went and got Jacob Fatu. We said don't go get Jacob. We said Jacob's crazy. It's such a nice little touch of world building, too, to be like, we said don't go get the crazy cousin. But it was great, and it turned out that did not go over well. Because the Bloodline appeared, Bloodline 2.0 invaded Monday Night Raw, and they cost Jey Uso the title, which, not to get lost in all of this, the WWE must love Braun Breaker. He is a 2-time IC champion already. He has been booked exceptionally strong since he hit the main roster, and not for no reason. I think he's an incredibly gifted wrestler already at a super young age. Like, he's going to be unbelievable for years to come. But of course, the big story here is the Bloodline developments. Jey Uso screwed out of his title. Who knows where that's going to lead? If you watch SmackDown tonight, you know where that's going to lead. And if you're online, you might just find out what's happening next week right now, too, because they are filming next week's SmackDown because they will be traveling to Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel next week. And spoilers hit my timeline like within like an hour. I think the show was still taping, and I was seeing like 1080p 4K spoilers. Like, I don't know how people were that on top of it, but that's a conversation for another day. Just avoid spoilers if you can. They are already out there everywhere. But Jey Uso pops up on SmackDown this week to screw the Bloodline out of their tag team titles, which means we have new tag team champions on SmackDown. And it is the Motor City Machine Guns, but I will get there in a second. So Jey Uso obviously had this huge run. He's kind of the linchpin of this Bloodline story, if you really think about it. Everything we've kind of seen and experienced has almost been through Jey Uso's eyes in terms of like going along with things, trying to break out, getting betrayed. And really it feels like a lot of the development of the storyline was built around Jey Uso. And he carried it unbelievably. Like, I couldn't believe all of the work he was doing as that storyline was going and going and going, and Roman was champion, and all the layers and everything that they were pulling out of it. I really think he brought a lot to it. And so, of course, it makes sense that he's going to be one of the linchpins of this reunion storyline. So getting the title off of him makes a lot of sense. I don't like it because I've enjoyed the singles run he's been on so much. But getting the title off of him, giving him a reason to be out for vengeance is, you got to start there. And so we are off. NXT has been building towards Halloween Havoc, as you can imagine. Stephanie Vaquer and Julia will be teaming up to take on Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade in a tag match. We'll get to that full preview, but those two, Stephanie and Julia, coming at the same time and being just such instant boosts of life into the NXT women's division that did not already need it. Like, the NXT women's division has been fantastic. They've been on fire. It is incredible how much depth and talent that they have, that are just all these women just waiting for opportunities. And you bring in someone like Julia, and you bring in someone like Stephanie Vaquer, who instantly elevate the star power at the top of the card. But not only that, but it's almost like a lift while you climb, where they're going to be able to elevate all of these younger wrestlers that are wrestling each other, that don't have a whole lot of those veteran wrestlers to work off of and work with. You instantly drop two of the best women working today in that locker room, and it's going to raise the quality of everyone around. And I think it's a really, really smart move, and the way they've done it so far has been great. I'm surprised that they've gone this tag team route and everything, but I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed NXT since they moved to CW. All the weird aesthetic changes I've really liked. I like the black and silver and the picture graphics, and everything has been just a big, big hit for me. And that includes Ethan Page, who will challenge Trick Williams for the NXT title again. In I believe a Devil's Choice match, I think is the stipulation, something like that. Devil's Playground, maybe. We will get to that in the next segment. But he had a rap song, a diss track that he released in response to Trick Williams' diss track from a few weeks back. And I hate to admit it, it's a banger. It's a banger. I'm sorry.
I heard it's Halloween Havoc, so I'm saying trick or treat. Shiny title in my bag, that's for every trick I beat. Your whole life's been a lie, but you're not tricking me. Take your best shot, Trick, but you'll never finish me. You're a
it's been stuck in my head since I heard it, and I'm not going to apologize for it. All ego, a man of many talents. And then the other big development from NXT was that Obafemi will have his rematch for the North American title with Tony D'Angelo at Halloween Havoc. But before then, he destroyed the entire D'Angelo family. Like, I think it was zip ties or handcuffs. I think zip ties. I'm going to say he zip ties Tony D'Angelo to the ring post and just like has him watch as he like pummels all of the other dudes in the D'Angelo family. Like, you're going through a table, you're going through a ladder, you're getting pummeled. Like, it was crazy. He's such a monster. Like, I don't know. I've obviously loved everything that they've done with Obafemi since he debuted. My big question is what is going to happen when he comes out of a feud as the loser. It's like, if he loses at Halloween Havoc, like, what do you do with him next? Because like, he's this big unstoppable monster. So what is the story when he gets stopped? But even coming off of a loss, even if people don't think he's going to win this weekend, this segment did so much to protect what a badass he is and just how unstoppable he is. So I really enjoyed that. It was like, it was brutal, as brutal as can be for like a TV 14 wrestling program airing in prime time on the CW. I should say a bunch of caveats. And then Friday, SmackDown, like I said, there was another show where, you know, kind of everything's pointing towards building to Crown Jewel. There was a match announced. It was going to be Kevin Owens and Randy Orton at Crown Jewel, and the way they built it, or the way they solidified it, actually was pretty awesome. They had Randy Orton come out and basically like demand that Triple H come out, and then he kind of talked to Triple H and was like, "Hey, like take off the producer hat, like." What would you do if you were me? Like, I have to do this. And it was great. It was a really good promo. Randy Orton is someone who has evolved and changed so much over the years. He is absolutely, I think, going to go down as one of the best ever by the time he hangs it up. And this promo was a nice, like, subtle reminder of how far he has come in those moments and in those promos. Like, he was exceptional here. So that's going to be another fun match. Then we also had the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, and this was a really, really cool match. It was for the number one contendership for the SmackDown tag titles, and something they did that I thought could kind of go wrong was they really leaned into Alex Shelley's relationship with Johnny Gargano, and how Johnny Gargano credits Alex Shelley with so much of his success. And they pointed out a lot that DIY uses a lot of offense similar to the Motor City Machine Guns. And I thought that was kind of a risky thing. Like, you don't want to point out that, you know, one of your groups is you know, cribbing moves from the group that you just brought in. Like, you don't want to make it too obvious to where it looks like it's just like where you make it look like it's like a one of one copy, like tit for tat. But I thought they did it really well. The way they used it within the story, the dynamics of, you know, talking about Ciampa potentially getting jealous of the relationship that Johnny has with the Motor City Machine Gun guys. And it was a really fun match. And it ended early, which was crazy. Motor City Machine Guns pick up the win, and they will earn a shot at the Bloodline at a future date. But that's why we ended early, because we got Motor City Machine Guns pulling double duty, back-to-back main event segments, basically like a 35-minute main event segment here, where the Bloodline 2.0 comes out to stare down and talk trash to the Motor City Machine Guns, and then, surprise, tag matches happening right here, right now at Barclays, which was a really smart, really smart decision too, because Barclays Center in Brooklyn is always full of very knowledgeable wrestling fans, and you could tell from the start how over the Motor City Machine Guns were. Fans were going crazy for them, chanting their names, reacting to all of the big spots. So I do think it was a smart decision to have them do all of this in this arena for this crowd. And we got a huge surprise, as Motor City Machine Guns are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. That is right. They've had 3 matches in WWE, and they are the SmackDown Champions. Huge shout out to those guys, because they have busted their asses for years for so many companies. And to see them here in WWE holding gold is surreal. But it's such an accomplishment. Good for them. It is going to be really cool to see. And they have essentially rebooted this tag team division in like no time here, which I've got to give WWE credit for as well. That I did not think they would be able to do it this fast, this well. But it was not by themselves. They did have some help. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and getting his lick back, Jey Uso, arrived to help even the odds and to help the Motor City Machine Guns get their win, and to screw the Bloodline like they had screwed Jey Uso out of his title. We get the big reunion moment at the end of the show, Jimmy and Jey with the big hug while Roman looks on from the entrance ramp. Great stuff. Just the Bloodline story is always such a good... The storytelling in the Bloodline segments is just always second to none. It's always consistently some of the best. It unfolds the best. It's realistic. The performances are always incredible. The drama and the tension are real. And it's good to have this mix back, and I'm so excited to see as they start to mix it up more and more with the Bloodline 2.0, because I really think that by the end of this, it's going to come out, everyone is going to come out of this looking better. And I don't think people were thinking that, when this Bloodline 2.0 stuff first started. And that was really the big things from WWE this week. There was a great match on NXT that was Metaphor versus Damage Control. I would highly recommend that if you did not see it. The Damage Control ladies, Io Sky and Kairi Sane, are so over in NXT. It's ridiculous how much they love those guys. It was a lot of fun. It was a good match. So we'll hit AEW really quick, and then I will get to the Halloween Havoc predictions. For AEW, for Dynamite this week, like I said, they've been kind of slow building this Death Riders takeover, like, I don't want to have to do it, but I have to do it type thing that Jon Moxley has been doing. And Dynamite this week started with a lot of the baby faces, I think all of the baby faces on the roster, standing outside waiting for them to pull up, basically, like, hey, when they get here, we're going to take care of them. And they've continued, as the story has kind of gone on, they've continued to center in on the idea that Orange Cassidy is the key to stopping this, is that Orange Cassidy is who needs to step up, because he has beaten Jon Moxley for a title before. He knows what it takes, and he has it in him if he cares and if he tries. That's a great story, because Orange Cassidy is one of those wrestlers that does not have to try very hard and will have everyone very invested in everything he's doing. So to play into that and to tie it into the storyline where he's an AEW original and they're kind of fighting for AEW's life right now, it's weird because all the reports and everything that I keep seeing are about how the original plan was for Darby Allin to beat Danielson and retire him and get the title, and then that changed to Moxley, but that might have been the plan the whole time. But I don't know. It's this weird disinformation thing where no one, like, there's who knows what the real story is, but it kind of creating this weird thing where, like, is Darby Allin gonna come in, is like, how is this all gonna play out? And it feels a little weird, like, because Full Gear is, I believe, next month, and right now it looks like the main event's gonna be Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy, where they're setting him up to be this, like, big savior to come help AEW, but I can't imagine this all would end in a month. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued in all the different directions that they're going with this and all of the things they're tying this storyline into. And then the other big storyline I would say is the Will Ospreay Don Callis family split up and the Kyle Fletcher betrayal. We have not seen Will Ospreay since Wrestle Dream, when Kyle Fletcher hit him with a screwdriver and cost him the international championship to Konosuke Takeshita. But Kyle Fletcher came out this week and he cut a promo on why he did what he did. I thought it was a great promo. I really like Kyle Fletcher a lot. He is someone who has grown on me immensely in just a few short months. I think he is so talented. I think his potential is sky high. He cut this promo, and I'm not going to lie, for like a little bit in the middle, I was like, this is kind of going a little long here. Like, he said what he needed to say, guys. Let's wrap it up. Let's get him out of here. Like, we don't need to do more than, we need to do. Then he said, I don't want people to think that I'm Will Ospreay or the next Will Ospreay or anything like you. He took out some clippers and he shaved his head in the middle of the ring. And I got to tell you, back in, I was like, take all the time you need, Kyle. Do what you got to do. It was one of, I think, the best promos I've seen Kyle Fletcher cut. And based on what I've seen online, I don't think that that's the consensus opinion. But for me, I really enjoyed the passion he brought to it. I thought that he sold it very well. Sold the logic behind it, I think, very well. And then obviously the shock of the I'm going to shave my head now was, the last thing I saw coming was, give me the clippers. I'm going to cut the middle of my head now. But it was great. I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this. He's someone that I do not think is going to need the Don Callis family stable for long. He's ready to go as a superstar in his own on his own merit, I should say. So really, those have been the big things that have been sticking out to me with AEW. With this Jon Moxley storyline, I kind of go back and forth with it a lot. I wanted to record something right after Wrestle Dream, and I held off, and then ended up missing last week and not recording anything. I think part of that is because I know I'm going to have to talk about this Jon Moxley takeover storyline, like, belt sucks, belt's what's wrong with AEW, I'm going to throw the belt in the duffel bag, and this is this, and we kind of still don't know really, like, why this is all happening. Like, they still kind of make it seem like there's someone pulling the strings from behind the curtain. Not so much lately, thankfully. Like, this should just be a Jon Moxley thing. But I'm so conflicted with it because I wish there was more to go off of. The cryptic stuff week in and week out isn't always my favorite, but I've really enjoyed the commitment and the intensity that Moxley is bringing to this. You can tell he is 100% bought in on this and is committed to making it work. And to that end, he is definitely helping to make it work. I am constantly invested more than I expect or even kind of want to be. And I think that's honestly 100% a testament to him and his commitment as the heartbeat and the power of this story, like the powering engine of this story. So I've really been watching it closer and looking for more details in it, more than I would have expected. And I'm honestly just curious to see where it's going to go next and what this means for some of the other wrestlers, some of those originals who have, not really gotten the most opportunities or made the most of their opportunities. I think it's just such an interesting combination of things that it feels like it goes so wrong, but it feels like it's on the right path. So I'm encouraged by that. So, all right, guys, like I said, we have got Halloween Havoc this weekend. I think it has a special early start time. The website I saw said 3:30. That's probably pre-show. They usually don't start like a half hour. They're usually right at 4, 5, anything like that. So I'm guessing it starts at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. But the pre-show or anything that will be on the pre-show, probably that 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern time. So got 5 matches announced on the card. Let's go through them and see what we got. First up, we have got Kalani Jordan defending the North American Women's Championship against one member of Fatal Influence. We do not know who it will be. It is Spinner's choice for the match type. We do not know who will be wrestling Kalani Jordan, and we do not know what the stipulation will be yet. But this feels like we've hit a weird point because I don't think necessarily Fatal Influence has been built like complete world beaters. So them taking the title like would obviously legitimize them a lot, but I've said that in almost every one of these Kalani Jordan matches, and she just wins every time anyways. So I don't think that this is going to be the occasion. Like, obviously, depending on what the stipulation is, feels like there could be chicanery. There could be some shenanigans here that would make it easy to pull the belts off of her. But I'm going to say Kalani Jordan retains. And honestly, whoever she wrestles, I think it'll be a good match. I think probably Fallon Henley would be my choice. But honestly, any of them will probably have a good match with Kalani because she's hit a point where she's having really good matches basically every time out. And it's really impressive to see how far she's come, how fast. Then next up, we have got Andre Chase returning to wrestle Ridge Holland in an ambulance match. The last time we saw Andre Chase before he returned this last week was getting stretchered out of the arena after Ridge Holland turned on him and hit him with a finisher a couple times on the table. And that was it. That was the implosion of this version of Chase U. And since then, all of the other members have fallen trying to avenge Andre Chase. Now here we go. And I don't know. It feels like the first match in a series of matches, I should say. So I don't know if Andre Chase is going to get this win right out of the gate. But being an ambulance match, I could see the other Chase U guys showing up and helping him like get the win. And then that leads to Ridge Holland demanding a rematch. And then we kind of go from there. So I'm going to say Andre Chase gets this win just to keep this feud going and to keep something like some sense of wronging motivating Ridge Holland here, because I think that's probably the safest way to keep it believable that this would just keep going past something like an ambulance match. So I'm going to say Andre Chase gets this win. Next, we've got the tag team match between Julia and Stephanie Vaquer versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. It's a little weird that the women's title is not being defended on this show, but also the two challengers that would likely be challenging her for the title are wrestling together because they're brand new arrivals. So I'm going to say I think Julia and Stephanie Vaquer get this win. I know they've put a lot already into elevating Roxanne as a heel, this reunion with Cora Jade, who just came back. And, if Stephanie Vaquer and Julia are going to continue to occupy that spot of baby faces that are just this close to getting their retribution, but get, screwed out of it for whatever reason, or the heels escape at the last second somehow, I could see that as well. That was why I was kind of so shocked that Julia lost that first title match, because it just seemed like everything was lined up to just put the belt on her and let the division start over on the CW. So I can't say I would be stunned if Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez pull out this win, but I think I'm going to go with Stephanie Vaquer and Julia getting the huge win. Next up, we have Tony D'Angelo defending the NXT North American title versus Oba Femi in a tables, ladders, and scares match. The caveat here, there's a note here in the Wikipedia, this match can only be won by pinfall. So tables, ladders, and scares, pinfall only. Kind of an odd combination of things, but again, the matches that these guys have had have been awesome so far. I've really enjoyed everything that they've done to this point, and that hasn't really been super gimmick based or stipulation based. So adding this all in is probably going to give it a bigger sense of closure, and it's just going to add more drama and more stakes to a match that we've seen a few times already. I said earlier, I think this is probably a Tony D'Angelo win. And then we kind of see, what happens next to Oba Femi. Where do we go from here? They did just make him look like an absolute maniac this last Tuesday when he took out the entire D'Angelo family. But if wrestling logic is to be applied from that, then that means because he stood tall at the end of the show, at the end of his segment, he is going to lose at the pay-per-view. So I'm going to just use that. It feels like he's done all he can do with the NXT North American title. He's ready to move up to bigger things, and I'll get to that in a second. Because in the main event, we have Trick Williams defending the NXT title versus Ethan Page in a Devil's Playground match. I don't know what all that's going to include. Halloween Havoc is usually a show that leans into their gimmicks quite a lot, so I can only imagine what it's going to be, but it's also like the D'Angelo Oba Femi match. It's a nice way to kind of freshen up a match that we've seen multiple times now. I don't think that there's a chance that Ethan Page gets the win and gets the title back, but I do think this has a chance to be one of the better matches in their feud. I think the stipulations will probably help. I think Ethan Page in particular has been incredible in the build to this. The intensity he's brought to these segments, and then you combine it with like the insane silliness of the rap song he dropped this week, the diss track. On TV, though, he has been absolutely sharp as a tack. He has been so on point on the mic, in the ring. He is bringing so much intensity to this feud that he is selling it like hook, line, or by crook. Like he's doing it however he has to do it. And it's been awesome. It's something, when he first won, I was like, kind of doing the same thing again, I guess, as like a big send-off. But since then, he has really hit the ground running with trying to get this match over and build the heat for this match, which I think he has done an exceptional job. I do think Trick is going to retain. I think it's going to be a great match. I honestly don't even know. This might be the Ethan Page, okay, now you're ready for Raw or SmackDown match. Like this could be his last match in NXT. I would not be surprised at all if in the next week or two he pops up on one of those shows, because he has been unbelievable since he hit NXT. He has looked like a complete package, a finished product, whatever you want to say. I've loved seeing him get this opportunity and get this spotlight. Then I think after Trick Williams gets the hard-fought win, we end with Oba Femi calling his shot and laying out Trick Williams to be the next contender. Because even in a loss, nowhere but up for my guy, Oba Femi. There we go. It's five matches. The quality of these matches, I think, will all be good. This is a formula that NXT has really dialed in, where you get the shorter card, but the longer matches, and everything has a chance to really get time and really develop. And it's worked out, I think, really successfully most of the time since they've kind of started to do this, to the point that it's kind of starting with the main roster cards as well, where, maybe there's only 4 or 5 matches on the pay-per-view, but each one of them is going to get 20 plus minutes and plenty of time to do their thing. And I think it's just such a smart way to go. If you have the time and you let them invest the crowd in what's going on, it's only going to be a good decision. It can only do good things for you. But that that's everything. This is faster than I expected it to be. I really expected that I would be going on and on about something longer than this. So I'm glad I didn't, spend more time than needed talking everyone's ear off. If anyone sees this, listens to this before the show this Sunday, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're excited to see. You can always hit the comment section on YouTube. I will put an email address in the description. You can always email that as well. It doesn't have to just be Halloween Havoc. You can always send in thoughts, questions, anything at all that you want to see talked about on the show, or any thoughts or opinions you have about what's going on in any of the wrestling companies. Please, I would love to hear from anyone out there watching, listening along. I appreciate everyone who does so. It's crazy to think about it. It means so much to me. I just constantly blown away by seeing some of the reactions and some of the things that I put out get. I definitely did not think that it would get to that point. So I appreciate everyone for checking it out, for hanging around. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend and enjoy Halloween Havoc. I will see you next week.